guys, welcome to this special episode of Art Party Now, where we're going to learn to draw everyone's favorite two characters of all time. I'm talking about Mickey and Minnie Mouse, all in one place. So let's start the party. All right, so I've got Mickey Mouse all sketched out in red pencils on 18 by 24 inch gray paper, which is really gonna make the colors pop when it's time to color this in. So make sure you stick around for that. And if you wanna draw along with me today, right now would be the perfect time to get out your materials and get set up. Or if you just wanna put your feet up on the couch and enjoy the party that way, that's totally cool too. So let's rock and roll. Today we're gonna draw Mickey Mouse in a 3/4 view. So we're gonna start by drawing an egg shape for Mickey's nose. Add a little curving line on the right side with an oval on top for Mickey's left eye and a slightly larger oval for his right eye since it's closer to us in space. We add two smaller ovals inside the first ones for his pupils. And now we're gonna draw a big curve for the top edge of Mickey's face. M-shaped arch around his eyes that define his forehead, and a big C shape for Mickey's right cheek. Now we draw a big smile line from his nose to the middle of his cheek, cap it with a little line for the corner of his mouth, draw a U shape for the bottom edge of his mouth, add one more U shape for Mickey's bottom lip, and then add two little curving lines for his tongue. We add a little line curving up from Mickey's cheek and connect that line to the top of Mickey's head by adding two big circular shapes for his ears. That's the toughest part of the entire drawing, but the great news is Mickey's face is complete. Now we can draw Mickey's chest, starting with a curving line on the left with a little loop on the end, a straight line on the right for his arm with a C shape on the end for the cuff of his glove, another straight line with a loop on the end for the bottom of his arm, a short line coming down from the loop, and a big curving line for the edge of Mickey's shorts. Now we're gonna draw Mickey's left hand, starting with two straight lines for his arm, two curving lines for the cuff on his glove, three curving lines that define his thumb, a line for the bottom edge of his fingers, three overlapping lines for the fingers which connect back to the cuff on his glove, and a line for the center of his palm. Now we're going to repeat the mirror image of the exact same shapes to draw Mickey's right hand, so just watch my lines closely. Now we're going to draw a long line for Mickey's back that curves back up at the bottom to define his right leg. We add a semicircle shape for the edge of Mickey's shorts, which connects to his left leg. Two more lines for the edge of his shorts, and add two ovals right on the front for the buttons. Now we draw two donut-shaped semicircles on the bottom of each leg for the tops of Mickey's shoes, a little line connecting them, a line for the heel of his right shoe. Now we're going to add a long curving line for Mickey's left shoe and add a little fold on top, another long curving line for Mickey's right shoe, with another little fold on top. And to complete our Mickey Mouse outline, we're going to draw two little curving lines for his tail. All right, so there's our simple outline of Mickey Mouse. But this drawing's still looking a little bit flat, so now I'm going to go back and darken in some of these lines, add a little bit of line quality and give it some shadows and weight. So make sure you stick around, because this is where the magic happens. This is the part of the process where we turn our two-dimensional outline into a real, living, breathing, three-dimensional character. In drawing, the term line quality specifically refers to the thickness or thinness of a line. So by thickening specific lines like the bottom edges of Mickey's shorts, shoes, buttons, and gloves, we give our outline weight and increase the illusion of natural shadows and light, which makes our simple Mickey Mouse outline begin to feel alive. All right, so there's our completed outline of Mickey Mouse with black Sharpies. So if you've been drawing along with me, right now would be the perfect time to smooth out your lines, make sure everything's just how you want it. And if you're that person with your feet up on the couch, make sure you don't go anywhere, because coming up next is the most fun part of the party, where we bring Mickey to life with color. You won't want to miss it. All right, so we're gonna start our Mickey Mouse coloring party by coloring Mickey's clothes. And I'm gonna use the same Sharpie creative markers that I used for Minnie Mouse in last week's episode. My new favorite thing in existence. If you don't have them, go out and get them. They turn drawings into paintings, and they don't create a mess like other paint pens. No paid sponsorship, just telling you the truth. So let's color. In this phase of our coloring, I'm using a bright red for Mickey's shorts and a bright yellow for his shoes, because I want our end result to have that classic Mickey Mouse look and feel. But feel free to color your drawing with whatever colors make you feel inspired. Okay, so I'm liking how these colors are working out so far on Mickey Mouse. Now I'm gonna color in Mickey's ears, nose, arms, and legs. But instead of using the normal black, I'm actually gonna use a dark blue to keep our overall color palette nice and bright. And I know we haven't gotten into Feng Shui and all the principles of Feng Shui on this channel yet. We will in the future, but for now, let's just say that large voids of black are not Feng Shui to hang on the walls. So let's keep the party going. In this phase of color, you'll see why it was important to add those loops to our lines on Mickey's chest, because when we color in everything except the loops will create a separation between the blue in Mickey's chest and the blue in his arms, which will keep his extremities from blobbing together and keep our initial structure for Mickey's anatomy in place. All right, so I'm actually really loving how these colors are working out on Mickey Mouse so far. Not sure if that blue is dark enough for the result that I have visualized, but I won't really know until we finish coloring the rest of our drawing. So now I'm going to use a light brown earth tone to color in Mickey's face. So let's go. If you watch closely as we color Mickey's face, you'll notice I'm using the same contour coloring technique I explained in detail in our episode How to Draw Dumbo. The basic idea is to curve the lines of color around the character by imagining we're drawing on a real three-dimensional object. If you want a more detailed description, you can click the link below. But make sure to stick around for the final reveal so you can see all these contour color lines up close. All right, so this next technique is a secret that no one really talks about, but in my artistic career, it's been a total game changer. We're gonna use a white Sharpie to color in the highlights in Mickey's eyes and buttons and gloves, which on this gray background is gonna make Mickey Mouse jump off the page and really bring the character to life. So let's do this. If you're having fun watching Mickey Mouse come to life and want to see more art parties starring Mickey, click the like button and write the word fun in the comments. And as you watch how these white Sharpies make Mickey Mouse jump off the page, even if you didn't have gray paper and white markers handy today, I hope seeing this will inspire you to try the technique in the future, because using white markers to create highlights on gray and colored paper is one of the most fun and effective ways to generate professional looking results in your artwork. And if using this method makes you as happy as it makes me, I encourage you to share it with a friend. Hey, do you never know? If we can inspire a smile in one new person every day, we might just make the world a happier place. All right, so I'm absolutely loving how all of our colors are just jumping off the page right now. So I'm not sure there's much more to do. So I hope you guys had fun in this episode, How to Draw Mickey Mouse. Stick around for the final reveal so you can see all these lines up close. Make sure to check out all your other favorite characters in our cartoon collection. And as always, stay inspired. Why did Minnie bring a pencil to the party? So she could draw some attention? Let's keep it going. All right, so I've got Minnie Mouse all sketched out in gray colored pencils on 18 by 24 inch gray paper. And the reason I chose gray paper for this one is that the white parts of Minnie's polka dots in her bow and dress and the gloves and her eyes are all gonna jump off the page when it's time to color it in. So make sure you stick around for that. As always, I've got my supersized Sharpie for the outlines, fine point Sharpie for the details. So if you want to draw along with me, right now would be the perfect time to get out your materials and get set up. Or if you just want to grab something out of the fridge, put your feet up on the couch and enjoy the party that way, that's totally cool too. So let's rock and roll. Today we're going to draw Minnie Mouse in profile view. So we're gonna start in the center of her forehead and draw a big arch with a little dimple on top where we'll draw the knot of her bow in a second. Now we're gonna draw a C shape for Minnie's left cheek, a little line for the peak of her forehead, and a kind of backward C shape for the knot on her bow. Now we draw a line curving down from the knot to define the right edge of Minnie's face, and a little line to cap it at the bottom, which connects to an egg shape for Minnie's nose. Now we draw a curving line for Minnie's smile from the bottom of her nose to the middle of her left cheek and cap it with a little line for the corner of her mouth. We connect the center of the smile line to the bottom of the left cheek with a little U shape that slightly overlaps. Add a line just inside that one for Minnie's bottom lip and two little lines for her tongue. Now we're going to draw Minnie's eyes. One oval right on top of her nose for the right eye, a slightly larger oval for her left eye since it's closer to us in space, two smaller ovals for her pupils, and then we're going to switch to the fine point Sharpie and add three little lines to the top of each eye for Minnie's eyelashes. Now we're going to draw the bow on Minnie's head with a big butterfly shape where each of the lines slightly overlap to indicate the folds in the fabric. So watch these lines closely to see where all the overlaps are. Since one of Minnie's ears is hidden behind the bow, we're just going to draw one little curve between the two sides of the bow for that ear. We draw two little lines for the back of Minnie's head and connect those lines with a big circular shape for Minnie's other ear. And now Minnie's face is complete. Now we're going to draw Minnie's left hand, starting with a little line below her mouth, which connects to the hand. Then we draw a long curving line for her index finger, another curving line for the thumb, another long line for the palm and the pinky, add one more line for the middle finger, another little curve in the center of her palm, and finally we add a little W shape on the bottom edge of her hand to define the cuff on her glove and her elbow. Now we're going to draw the outline for Minnie's dress, starting with a little wavy line below her nose for the front, a little curving line coming down from her thumb for the back, and then connect those two lines with two diagonal lines for her belt. Now we draw a backward C shape for the fold on the front of the dress and a long S curve that connects the front to the back. If I had to choose, that's the most fun line of the entire drawing. Now we can draw Minnie's right hand, starting with a little loop for her shoulder, a straight line for her arm, two little curving lines that will be her thumb, a long curve for her index and middle finger, another loop for her pinky, two loops for her palm that connect back to her thumb, and two more small loops for the cuff on her glove. Now we can draw Minnie's bloomers, starting with a little curve for her belly and adding ruffles along the bottom. And then we can draw her legs with four diagonal lines coming down from our ruffles with four little loops on each end. You'll see why the loops are important when it's time to color it in. Now we're going to draw Minnie's shoes, starting with two curving lines from the top edge of our loops, a big oval shape connecting those lines to the back of her leg, and a pointy oval shape to define the toe of the shoe. We use the same line structure for Minnie's right shoe, except that it's tucked behind the left and a little bit more sideways. So we're going to add a little loop to define the high heel at the bottom. Now we add a few little lines to define Minnie's tail. And then the only thing left to do is add Minnie's signature polka dots to her bow and her dress. I'm not sure if drawing polka dots requires an explanation, but here's a pro tip. For the best result, try to keep the circles evenly spaced in straight lines and make sure they go all the way from one edge to the other.
All right, so there's our finished Sharpie outline of Minnie Mouse. But right now, it's still feeling a little bit two-dimensional and flat. So now I'm gonna go back and darken in some of these lines to create the illusion of shadows and weight. So make sure you stick around because this is where the magic happens.
This is the part of the process where we turn our two-dimensional outline into a real, living, breathing, three-dimensional character by increasing the thickness of specific lines like the bottom edge of Minnie's shoes, dress, gloves, and bow to increase the illusion of natural shadows and light.
All right, so there's our finished outline of Minnie Mouse with black Sharpies. So if you've been drawing along with me, right now would be the perfect time to take a good long look at this, smooth out your lines, make everything just how you want it. And if you're that person with your feet up on the couch, halfway through your snack, make sure you don't go anywhere because coming up next is the most fun part of the party where we bring Minnie to life with color. You won't want to miss it. All right, so we're gonna start our coloring party by coloring in Minnie's clothes, and I'm gonna use my Sharpie creative markers, which over the past couple of months have become my new favorite thing in the universe. If you don't have them, definitely go out and get them. And they're not even sponsoring me, I just love them that much. So let's rock and roll.
In this part of the process, you can write your own playbook. I'm using pink for Minnie's bow, red for her dress, and yellow for her shoes. But feel free to use whatever colors make you feel inspired.
All right, so now that we've got the clothes all worked out, we're gonna color Minnie's ears, nose, and legs, but instead of using black, we're gonna use a dark purple to keep our overall color palette nice and bright. So let's keep the party going.
In this phase of coloring, you'll see why it was important to add those loops to the bottom of Minnie's legs, because when we color in everything on Minnie's legs and feet, except those loops, the loops will define where Minnie's ankles really connect to her feet and keep the feet and legs from blending together.
Okay, so I'm liking how the colors are working out on Minnie Mouse so far. So now I'm gonna use a light brown earth tone to color in Minnie's face. So let's keep going.
To color Minnie's face, I'm using the same contour coloring method I explained in detail in our episode How to Draw Dumbo. So if you want a more detailed description, you can click the link below. But the basic idea is to curve the lines of color around the character by imagining we're drawing on a real three-dimensional object. Now we're gonna use a dark brown to color in the inside of Minnie's mouth. I'm gonna take a little bit of creative liberty to color her eyes blue since I have blue eyes myself, and use a light pink to color her tongue.
All right, so this next move, using the white marker to bring out the highlights in our Minnie Mouse drawing on this gray paper, is really gonna bring everything together and give Minnie Mouse a real three-dimensional quality. And if you're not familiar with this technique, it might just change the way you think about her forever. So let's go.
As you watch how these white highlights bring Minnie Mouse to life, even if you don't have gray paper and white markers today, I hope seeing this vivid transformation of color will inspire you to try this technique in the future, because using white markers on gray or colored paper is one of the simplest and most effective ways to create professional looking results in your artwork. And if using this method makes you anywhere near as happy as it makes me, then in some small way, this simple cartoon drawing has made the world a better place.
All right, so I'm really happy with how all these colors worked out. So I hope you guys had fun in this episode of How to Draw Minnie Mouse. Stick around for the final reveal. Make sure to check out all your other favorite characters in our cartoon collection. And as always, stay inspired. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. If you had fun or learned anything, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing, because it really does help out our channel. Thanks again, and have a beautiful day.
YouTube thinks that you'll like this video next.